Let's get right into it. Today, we are issuing an urgent, highly authoritative medical alert. We're looking at the severe biological breakdown that hits the human body after age 60. Now, what we're talking about today isn't some superficial cosmetic issue. This is a critical vulnerability happening deep within your cellular machinery. But we aren't just here to deliver bad news. We're going to examine a strictly peer-reviewed, scientifically grounded intervention to actually combat this degradation. We're stripping away all those trendy wellness fads to focus entirely on the clinical reality of biological survival.
Okay, let's dive into this. We're going to cover 6 key areas: the post-60 biological crisis, the dangers of systemic inflammation, the thymocorn intervention, 5 critical biological pathways, nocturnal repair, and finally, the strict transdermal protocol itself.
Starting right off with Section 1, the post-60 biological crisis and the reality of cellular degradation.
To really grasp the gravity of this crisis, we have to completely rethink how we view aging skin. It is not just a superficial shell, it's actually the largest organ in your body. It acts as a highly dynamic, living interface that connects right to your bloodstream and internal biology. It's literally packed with immune cells, nerve endings, and these microscopic transdermal channels. Now here's the frightening part. After you hit 60, this vital organ suffers a relentless 1 to 2% drop in collagen production every single year. And that structural collapse, that's really just the beginning. The deeper dermal layers start thinning out significantly, and your cellular mitochondria, the actual engines driving your cellular energy, become dramatically less efficient. This sets off a highly dangerous internal chain reaction. Essentially, when this organ degrades, your whole internal biological network gets compromised.
And that mitochondrial failure leads us directly to oxidative stress. Think of this as a severe biological imbalance. What happens is your failing mitochondria start producing reactive oxygen species, which you probably know as free radicals, at a massively accelerated rate. They're churning out these damaging molecules way faster than your body can possibly neutralize them. This isn't just a minor hiccup, it's a profound, systemic danger occurring deep within the cellular machinery of older adults, actively destroying tissue from the inside out.
Which brings us to Section 2, the dangers of systemic inflammation and the hidden health risks.
We absolutely have to escalate how we look at this pathology. You see, chronic oxidative stress in your dermal tissue doesn't just stay put. The clinical data strongly links this localized degradation directly to widespread systemic inflammation running throughout your entire body. We're talking about the root driver of major age-related crises. It triggers cardiovascular disease, it accelerates painful arthritis, it promotes neurodegeneration, and it drastically increases your cellular vulnerability to cancer. And if that wasn't enough, it literally forces your critical epidermal stem cells into dormancy. These undifferentiated cells are your body's essential built-in repair mechanism. So them going dormant is absolutely not a superficial concern. It's a catastrophic loss of your body's ability to regenerate damaged tissue.
Moving to Section 3, the pharmacognosy and the thymoquinone intervention.
Now, stepping completely away from pharmaceutical marketing and focusing strictly on peer-reviewed clinical literature, we find a very specific intervention. It uses a compound derived from Nigella sativa, more commonly known to us as black seed oil. But we aren't looking at the whole oil. We are zeroing in on its primary bioactive compound, thymoquinone, or TQ for short. And this brilliantly illustrates the science backing it up. As of 2024, there are over 2,000 published scientific studies on Nigella sativa and thymoquinone. That is an unquestionable, frankly extraordinary body of evidence for a naturally occurring substance. We're talking about rigorous verified data detailing a multidimensional clinical impact. That leads into Section 4, the 5 critical biological pathways and multidimensional cellular defense.
Understanding the exact pharmacognosy here is absolutely vital. See, while most conventional pharmaceuticals will target just a single biological pathway, thymoquinone is fundamentally different. It triggers 5 essential, totally distinct biological mechanisms simultaneously to defend against aging and systemic degradation. First up, the anti-inflammatory pathway systemically inhibits COX-2 enzymes. Second, it acts as a direct antioxidant, stepping in as a free radical scavenger via the NRF2 pathway. Third, it upregulates specific signaling that wakes up those dormant stem cells we talked about. Fourth, it has broad-spectrum antimicrobial properties that restore your skin's microbiome balance instead of just indiscriminately destroying it. And finally, it shows anti-cancer activity by actually inducing apoptosis in abnormal cells. I literally cannot overstate the gravity of having these 5 simultaneous defenses working together.
Now, what's really interesting about this comparison is how TQ measures up against standard pharmaceutical NSAIDs, like your typical ibuprofen or naproxen. Both of these actually target and inhibit the exact same COX-2 enzyme to reduce inflammation. But here is the crucial difference. TQ achieves this critical inhibition without causing the toxic, damaging side effects to your stomach lining, liver, and kidneys that are so notoriously linked to standard over-the-counter anti-inflammatory drugs. It's essentially delivering the biological defense, totally bypassing the collateral damage.
If we look even deeper into cellular repair, we see that TQ activates the NRF2 pathway. In clinical terms, you can think of this as the absolute master switch for your body's own antioxidant defense system. When it's applied topically, it drastically increases your endogenous production of glutathione. It literally turns on your internal antioxidant factory. And at the very same time, it upregulates specific signaling proteins that wake up those dormant epidermal stem cells, actively signaling them to divide and aggressively repair your thinning, degrading tissue.
We also really need to address that fifth pathway with absolute medical precision, apoptosis. It's programmed cell death, which sounds a bit scary, but it's actually the natural, incredibly necessary biological process your body uses to eliminate dangerous, damaged cells. The problem is, cancer cells have evolved to evade apoptosis, making themselves essentially immortal. But multiple laboratory studies show us that thymococcone directly targets the BCL2 and p53 proteins. It overcomes this evasion tactic and literally forces these abnormal malignant cells to self-destruct exactly as nature intended.
Section 5. Chronobiology and nocturnal repair. Let's look at the science of biological timing. Now, understanding the compound itself is only half the protocol. The timing of this intervention is a strict biological imperative. You simply cannot apply this at random and expect it to work. Nighttime application is an absolute necessity for systemic absorption and biological utilization. This is dictated by a physiological state dermatologists call nocturnal transdermal conductance. While you sleep, your skin's permeability drastically increases. This state allows topically applied molecules to completely bypass the superficial layers and gain deep systemic access right into your bloodstream. Applying thymoquinone at night capitalizes entirely on this biological phenomenon. It makes the compound exponentially more bioavailable. And this nocturnal repair window operates on a very strict biological timeline. Right around 10 p.m., DNA and cellular repair processes within your skin hit their absolute peak activity. Fast forward to 12 a.m. and your systemic growth hormone secretion reaches its maximum level for regeneration. Then by 2 a.m., cortisol, which is the stress hormone that suppresses your immune function, drops to its absolute daily minimum. You really must time your intervention to align perfectly with these specific chronological milestones of human regeneration.
Let's move to and see how this builds into Section 6, the strict transdermal application protocol, our clinical regimen.
Because let's face it, understanding all this microscopic cellular theory is practically useless without a strict, step-by-step clinical protocol that you follow consistently. Here is exactly what needs to happen. Step 1. You must source unrefined cold-pressed Nigella sativa that has a verified third-party tested thymoquinone content of 1 to 3%. Step 2. Warm exactly 1/2 teaspoon of the oil right between your palms. Step 3. Apply it using gentle circular motions directly to the designated anatomical targets. And Step 4. Allow a strict minimum of 10 minutes for transdermal absorption before you cover it up with clothing. I have to stress, this is not just occasional maintenance. This protocol must be executed every single night for a minimum of 8 weeks if you want to legitimately alter your biological architecture. Your application also needs to be anatomically precise. If you're dealing with localized pain and inflammation, you want to target the joints, the lower back, the knees, and, crucially for seniors, massage it directly into the knuckles and the webbing of the hands. If you're aiming for broader systemic health, target the chest, the inner forearms, and the neck because these zones are going to give you maximum transdermal absorption. And finally, make sure to apply it directly to any areas of chronic thinning skin to maximize that localized stem cell activation.
So, the crucial point here is that while this compound has an absolutely exceptional safety profile, strict medical contraindications still apply. If you are taking blood thinners like warfarin, you absolutely must consult your physician first because TQ does have mild anticoagulant properties. If you're currently undergoing active chemotherapy, you need to discuss this with your oncologist to make sure you aren't introducing any variables into your treatment. And finally, if you have known plant allergies within the Raniculaceae family, a patch test is mandatory. Safety and adherence to clinical realities are simply non-negotiable here.
We're going to conclude this explainer with a pretty stark reality. Unpatentable, naturally occurring plant compounds simply do not generate the multi-billion-dollar incentives required for mainstream pharmaceutical trials. That's not some wild conspiracy, it is just a basic economic fact. But the clinical literature is crystal clear. The pathways have been identified and the protocol is verified, so the big question remains. Will you wait decades for a pharmaceutical patent that might honestly never come, or will you take command of your aging cellular biology tonight? The choice and the science is now entirely in your hands.